Hopefully I'm live. Let's see. Working on it here, guys. Been one of them days, I tell you. Let's see, does it work? If I do that, does that work? Okay, yes, that looks like that works. So let's just go there. Alright, close that. Go to my page so that I can see my channel. See my channel. There we go. Indie Tigers first in the house. Bradley's here. Jules, he says hi. E4U now says hello. And Bradley says, yes, you are live on YouTube at least. Good to see you. And Eliu is also in the house. Indie Tiger says, one more person for a handful. Good to see you. So, I am officially here. So, I apologize for not having a Jeopardy game set up for tonight, like I usually do on my not hanging out with Matthew Friday nights. And Eliu, I know LTG is doing a 48-hour live stream in a little while, but hey, you know what? What can I say? If you want to go hang out with LD, you go right ahead. I'm still streaming for a while, and it's a free country. You can hang out with him. You can stay here with me. It's up to you. I'm tired of trying to second guess who's streaming when and where and what and how. I'm going to stream when I stream, and if someone else is streaming, they're streaming. I don't bear a grudge against LD for setting up a stream when I stream every single Friday night. And so, if he wants to stream, hey, that's cool. So, I'm not mad at him. I'm sure he's not mad at me. And if he is mad at me, well, why? I stream every Friday. So, and it's a free freaking country last time I checked. So, I'm not mad. And I'm sure he's not either. And so, and I do want to address the giant pink elephant in the room. As far as what happened with Deej, we're not talking about it. Deej canceled his stream of his own free will. I'm sorry that he did, because I was on the stream when he did it, and I was looking forward to. I was actually planning tonight on just encouraging people to be on Deej's stream. That was my whole plan. That's why I didn't have a Jeopardy game set up for tonight. So, go figure. And also, so let me, and again, and LDG knew full well about this. Why he decided to do this, I don't know. I guess he just decided to say, screw you, anti-trekker. Whatever. I'm not going to hold a grudge against him for doing it, but it is kind of a dick move, to be honest with you. Because I invited LD to come on to my marathon live stream, which is going to be this Sunday. Apparently, he's going to be doing his marathon live stream himself during that live stream, but whatever. So I'm going to be doing a live stream this Sunday. To try and raise funds to pay for the medical bills that I've been racking up dealing with all my health issues. Now, my original plan was I was going to try to go for 48 hours, or at the very least 24. The funny thing about that is that then I get a call about 2 hours ago now from my doctor's office, and my doctor needs me to go into the office on Monday for an MRI. So this will be the third MRI in the last couple of months for this. And so I have to go in for an MRI on Monday. And so I won't be able to stream for a solid 24 hours because I'll have to break it off and do the MRI, and then I'll come back on and continue the live stream. So... but that's what I'm going to do. And by the way, on Sunday, I do have lined up at least a couple of special guests because Lore Reloaded will be joining me. I'm very excited about that because Lore is going to partake in the 2.2 million Scoville cheese balls with me. So for people that want to super chat and get Lore Reloaded to eat 2.2 million Scoville cheese balls, I'm really looking forward to that. Making Lore suffer just a little bit. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I do. And so that's, that is what it is. Trustin says, hey. Julesy says, it's only LTG. Come on now. He's a person, kind of. LG can go suck a Kurogan. Well, what LDG and Bird of Prey 5 do in their own spare time is their business. Richie says, hi everyone, I'm glad you're streaming tonight. Well, thank you, Richie. Eli says, is laughing. Cinnabon says hello. How you doing, Bunny? I hope you are well. Notice, since we're just doing the old-fashioned live stream, we're going to talk about some Star Trek. I want to just talk about some fun Star Trek stuff. I was actually, if you weren't there earlier, Lore Reloaded is getting back into live streaming. And Laura and I are talking about, probably, from the sound of it, we're going to probably set up on Tuesdays where Laura and I are going to do a weekly live stream together and talk about just straight up Trek topics, like, hey, could Trek work if we did this, and who would win in a fight between this, and stuff like that. And so we're going to have some fun with it. And Laura and I used to do that back in the day. And so I think we need to... we really need to bring the fun back to it, because that's something that we've completely lost in the community. And instead, we've turned it into anger and hatred and just, all this garbage. And so I'm glad to see that Lore is trying to help turn it around. I absolutely want to help turn it around, so hopefully we can. Richie says, there are enough YouTubers to go around. I like having the freedom to choose who I want to watch. Hell, one can even stream hop if one wants to. Absolutely, and I have no problem with that. Watch who you want to watch and enjoy who you want to enjoy. And, variety is the spice of life. But Carolina Reaper is a spice that Lore Reloaded is gonna regret volunteering to taste. And I got what you said, Richie. Kevin Norton is correcting something, I assume, by saying, "I." Cinnamon says, "Doctor on Monday. I'm glad you're getting your rabies taken care of." Death by Rabies, speaking of rabies, says hi. Kevin Norton says, just came over from the Lore live stream earlier. Yep, it was a fun stream, actually. Lore, we were talking about the Maquis. We were talking about a bunch of stuff. Whether the Maquis qualifies as a tourist group. I'm saying tourist. We're not saying the word that sounds a lot like tourist because I don't want to trigger the algorithm. Please do not use the words that trigger the algorithm. I'm trying to, Laura's channel has already grown to a significant size. Mine has not, so please don't say things that will suppress the channel growth. E for you now says, this would be so much better than the snooze fest over Trek Yards. Hey, got to Foley's my buddy now. I don't know what they're talking about over in Trek Yards. Indie Tiger says, embrace your hate. Embrace your hate. Now you see the power of the dark side. Trustin says, you stream, I stream, we all stream for I stream. That sounded way funnier in my head. Sorry, guys. And Daniel's Hot Topic says, it's not like it is not like the Phantom Menace. He does not like spoilers. Got to make a note of that. Yes, I don't care about rumors. I don't care about. And here's the thing with spoilers. It's not. Look, I don't want to know. It's so funny because I used to love spoilers. Now I don't. Because I want to just enjoy it as it comes. Because the problem with spoilers is a lot of the times, and this is something that happens, and this is something I saw with the Phantom Menace, and one of the reasons that I think the Phantom Menace has really become so sour is that they get the spoiler, and then they decide ahead of time that it's bad based on the spoiler. So they decide, oh, this is going to suck, and then they come up with a reason it's going to suck, and therefore when the spoiler comes to fruition, they just say, see, I told you it was going to suck regardless of whether it was good or not. Speaking of the traitorous man, LDG is here saying, talking about pimping his live stream on mine. Pimping his live stream on mine. Yeah, I see how you are, LD. trying to suck my viewers away. Pimping his live stream. You come over here just to pimp your live stream. What are you doing, man? You could at least like try to, do something with the conversation before you pimp your live stream. You could at least say something about Star Trek before you pimp your live stream. You could say, oh yeah, I think that the Excelsior is a better ship, and then try to pimp your live stream. But no, you just go right into it. No. Yeah, Kevin, good. Pimp it with a super chat. There you go. You pimp it with a nice fat super chat. Then I won't complain. You see, now you're thinking. Buddy. And by the way, don't forget to put the @AntiTrekker because the chat's really moving, and so I'm going to fall behind, and I apologize if I miss your chat, but so put the @AntiTrekker in there so I can catch it. And I'm just giving you a hard time, LD, but come on, you could insert something into the conversation. And Cinnabon says, oh, hey, AntiTrekker, I made Twitch affiliate today. Congratulations, Cinnabon. And nice green shirt. Well, thank you. I'm very proud of it. Yeah, I could use the shirt as like a green screen and just be a floating head. What's the latest in the world of Kuroga bashing? I don't bash Kuroga. I only speak facts about Kuroga. Daniel says, nice green shirt. Are you happy when we will get a new Kelvin Universe movie? That, as far as I know, Daniel, that has yet to be confirmed. The only thing we know is that there will be a Star Trek movie. The only thing we know is that they've greenlit a Star Trek movie for 2023. That's the only thing we know. Not that it will be Kelvin Universe. We don't know anything about who's going to be in it. We don't know anything about any details about the movie whatsoever. So, Kelvin Universe, don't know that for sure. Rich says, good thing you're not using your green screen tonight. Yeah, I missed the green screen, but it just doesn't quite work in this room, unfortunately. And I realized that I bumped the camera the other way, so now you can't see my Battlestar Galactica and stuff. And I gotta get that set up. It's really hard to, every time I get ice out of there, I bump something. Let's see. Hey, sorry I've been absent lately, Preston. I do not take role, and so it is completely okay. I understand life happens, and life takes priority. Cinnamon says, thank you. Jessica's in the house. Green shirts never die on the Enterprise. That is... I don't think we've ever... Have we ever had a green shirt death in Trek? There have been green shirts on Trek. So, I don't know if we've ever had a green shirt death. I just realized I'm on top chat, so I'm switching it to live chat. So, if I missed something that was addressed to me, I apologize, but I switched it now. Is Chris Pine your favorite Kirk? No. That's an easy one. Let's see. Kevin says, speaking of, I think the Excelsior class is better than the Constitution class. I disagree with you, Kevin. I really like the Constitution class, but I do think the refit Connie is the nicest looking ship in all of Trek. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate the Excelsior. At first, when I first saw the Excelsior, I was like, ugh. But it grew on me. Eventually, I came to like it. And unlike the Galaxy class, which I still think looks like a bloated piece of rotting cheese, I grew to like the Excelsior class a lot. But the Connie, I think, still looks better, and I think the refit Connie is the best looking ship in all of Trek canon. Mr. Cap says, you're tempting fate with that green shirt. If you're not careful, someone might Photoshop an STD uniform on you. Ooh, that's dangerous. All right, I'll tell you what I'll do. Hold on, Mr. Captain. All right, so now you're going to make me mess things up. Let me go in here and see what we can do. Where is is this the webcam? Yeah, alright, so there's the webcam. And so we need to go to, no, we need main camera. And we need filters. We need to add. And we need filter type. And we need chroma key. Done. There we go. Ooh, look at that. Alright, so now we got some stars coming through me. How's that? Okay, that's kind of weird. Go to, how's that? See how that looks. Woo! Let's see, about 400. We'll go 420. My birthday. There. I got my star shirt on. All right, and let's get back to the chat. Daniel says the new Battlestar Galactica is going to suck. Well, you know what? We don't know that, and I will judge it when we see it. And honestly, and Daniel, I know it's hard to do it. I know it's hard to do, but you got to learn to do this, my friend. You can't judge a book by its cover. It's an old saying, but it's very, very true. When you don't know if it's going to be any good, stop trying to decide whether it's any good before you see it. And honestly, that's you gotta stop trying to decide it sucks before you see it. Green shirts make fried pickles and medical marijuana. Okay. Can we see a picture of Mrs. We can see a picture of Mrs. Anti-Tricker. We can see a picture of Mrs. Anti-Tricker. I don't know where you can see a picture. Well, you can see one on our Patreon page. Isn't TOS Kirk the only green shirt? No, but TOS Kirk is a green shirt. But there are some green shirts in the TNG era. There are some, I believe, medical uniforms that are green. Mr. Capsules, on a serious note, what's with Tennessee and government banning vaccines? Good question. That's all I'll say to that. Good question. I don't know. Michael says, hi, how you doing, Michael? Jordan is saying, how's it going? I'm hanging in there best I can. Looking forward to what's going to end up being kind of a broken, probably around 36-hour live stream coming up. Kevin says, I do have to get going today. I'll see you on Sunday. Fully agree on the Galaxy class. I'm glad that you see the light when it comes to the Galaxy class, Kevin, and I will see you on Sunday. Josh Street says, does Commodore Decker count as a green shirt? He was wearing the greenish gold uniform. Well, if he was wearing the green uniform, then yeah. So I guess, well, was he wearing the green one? I'm trying to remember now. I haven't watched Doomsday Machine in a while. Let's see. I'm gonna bring it up on my other monitor here. So let's go to Paramount. I know some people think I'm horrible because yes, indeed, I am subscribed to Paramount Plus because you know what? I'm not part of cancel culture. Sorry. Star Trek. And with the original series. Come on. Although I will say this, I do think that their interface is still not the best. But hey, what can you do? Let's see. Mary, Michael. About to show more. Oh, is it? I could have sworn it was season 1. I thought Doomsday Machine was season 1. Was it season 2? Or is it just the way they're doing it on this? Let's see. It might just be because I'm having trouble reading right now. Hold on, guys. I know my brain is a little sluggish, which is part of the reason that I'm going in for the MRI on Monday. No joke. Yeah, it's season 2, episode 6. All right, let me go to the Doomsday Machine.
What up? We doing sci-fi stuff today?
And we'll mute the audio so that we don't get a copyright strike. We get a little Lower Decks commercial, which I am looking forward to. Lower Decks season 2. I know, blasphemy, but August 12th, looking forward to it. Some Lower Decks action. Alright, so Enterprise shows up. No, Decker's wearing the gold. He's wearing the gold uniform. So no, Decker's not a green shirt. Can't wait for the Anti-Decker Loves lore collab with spicy food. I am really looking forward to it. June Wong is laughing and check her nose floating head. Yes, indeed. Jessica says, any ideas? I think Kirk would order a Big Mac and Diet Dr. Pepper if he went to McDonald's. Spock, on the other hand, oh boy, trying to find logic. Let's see, in ordering fast food. Well, first of all, no. I do think Kirk would order a... I think that Kirk would not order the Big Mac and Diet Dr. Pepper. I think that Kirk would order a double quarter pounder with cheese, and he would order a large chocolate shake. I don't think he would do a diet anything. All right, we're talking about Captain effing Kirk. As for Spock, he would simply order the side salad and water. That's my honest opinion. Why can't they make a sequel to Battlestar Galactica 2014? Because there wasn't a Battlestar Galactica 2014, but if you mean Battlestar Galactica 2004, I think it was. Was it? Or was it 2014? I don't think it was 2014. That was 2004, wasn't it? Let's see. Battlestar Galactica... Yeah, 2004. But I think that honestly, the reason you could do a direct sequel to that show is that show is finished. They completed the story. Death by Raby says, just look it up. According to Memory Alpha, no green shirts die in TOS. Yeah, I don't think that any do. I don't think that we see any green shirt deaths in Trek. But, you know, yeah. Put Bird's face on your shirt. Oh, man, no thank you. Let's see. Hello there, Anti-Trekker says, the Coliseum. How you doing, my friend? If I'm not butchering your name too bad. Daniel says, back in the day, which is your favorite movie company? Warner Brothers, Universal, Fox, Sony, or Disney? Back in the day, Paramount. Because Paramount, honestly, because, I mean, the cheap answer would be 20th Century Fox because they released Star Wars, but Paramount released Star Trek. And Paramount also released the Raiders of the Lost Ark films. And so, you know, when I saw that mountain, I was excited. Now, granted, I did really like 20th Century Fox as well for the Star Wars films, but Paramount Pictures for Star Trek. Somebody did the math by percentage. Red shirts are the safest. Well, the problem is that it depends on how you look at it, but, you know, I still say that, you know, I'm not going there. And Deej, good to see you, my friend. Says, excuse me, just swing by and quickly say, release video explaining part of why I did the stream this morning, and will be the final thing I say on it all. Thank you. All right, Deej, take care, buddy, and I wish you nothing but the best on it, and I look forward to talking to you later. Kirk would order a double bacon cheeseburger and a liter of Coke. I think the double quarter pounder with cheese with extra bacon. There you go. Ozzy says, has there been a trailer for the new Battlestar Galactica yet? Not that I am aware of. Jessica says, should we get the cast of Cheers reuniting, but with Morn as the guest character? That would be freaking awesome. And Daniel says, Anti-Trekker, go on William Shatner's Twitter and ask him, please, Captain Kirk, return to Trek. No. Daniel, I know you're obsessed with William Shatner, but you also know that I have said, and I will continue to maintain, that William Shatner is 90 effing years old. Leave the man alone. He's 90. Leave him alone. Let him be 90. For Christ's sake, he's 90 years old. Let him have his old, ancient, golden years. He may only have 6 months to live. Let him have his 6 months. Richie says, Cannon says Kirk would order a chicken sandwich and coffee. Well, no, that's just what his official dietary assignment from McCoy was from the replicator mat, or the, whatever that thing is. I think that I think that what Kirk would order would be a double quarter pounder with cheese with extra bacon. I don't think that, because remember McCoy, he was sitting there, green leaves, what is this crap, and so I think that Kirk would very much like, I think Kirk would be like, well, let's go to Arby's where they have the meats. So Jordan says, your next Jeopardy should be everything about the stream of thought. That's not a bad idea, Jordan. That's not a bad idea. And United Healthcare. Let me take this real quick because this is my healthcare company. Hello? Ah. Yes? Just a minute. Hold on, please. It's the health insurance company calling for you? Oh, it will be if you come. Just if you reach over and get it. No, it won't be. But they're asking for you. I don't know. Maybe you can step forward. That was weird. You can shut the door. That's the other phone. And Mercer throws in a couple of bucks. Says, what's Captain Mercer's meal of choice? Well, he would just have like a hot dog and chips. Josh says, come on, intern, let's have a mini-series about Kirk in the retirement home before going aboard the Enterprise B. No. No. Josh says, mute the mic. Oh, don't worry, she's okay. Daniel says, also, since the guy who directed Lethal Weapon died, do you think that Mel Gibson and Danny Glover will return for Lethal Weapon 5? I don't think we need a Lethal Weapon. Here's the thing. I think that we need to stop trying to milk old properties. It's like, why are we so obsessed? Hey, Rambling Canuck, good to see you, buddy. Why are we so obsessed with trying to, like, hey, you know what? These actors are still alive. Let's get one more movie out of them. Come on. You know, the ironic thing is, what did Danny Glover say about it in the first Lethal Weapon movie? I'm getting too old for this fecal matter. How about we listen to that? How about we just respect that line? Because, yeah, now they are too old for it. And no, because I'm sorry, they are too old. So I'm done with it. I think we need to, there are plenty, and I'm sorry, there are literally thousands of great young actors waiting to become the next action stars. There are thousands, if not tens of thousands of actors waiting in the wings to be the next big stars. But no, we want to get one more movie out of William Shatner. Guess what? William Shatner's 90 years old. Let him rest. Let him enjoy his time. And instead, let's start looking at these young actors and see what we can get out of them. Because you know what? I'll bet you. I mean, my goodness, has anybody watched The Expanse? I can never remember the guy's name that's the main guy on The Expanse, but he's pretty good. And so, we don't need to just keep recycling the same old stuff. And so, I get it. I know that William Shatner is awesome. I love William Shatner. I met the man once, and I was thrilled beyond belief to meet him. You can't see it, but like right up there, I have a picture of LeVar Burton, and right next to that, I have a picture of Joel from Mystery Science Theater. I have, in the other room, I have a picture of me with William Shatner. I love meeting these guys, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to move on and let new people become the next celebrities. And we need to stop obsessing over revisiting the past, because the past ain't getting any better. And that's a big problem. And Leighton throws in $6.99 Canadian. Thank you so much, my friend. And I just realized that I have this screen up, so I wouldn't be able to see that screen. And it says, hey, you and Matthew should watch Abbott and Costello Go to Mars. It's terrible, which is saying something because I love Abbott and Costello. I don't know if I've seen that one. I'm trying to think. I've seen a few of the Abbott and Costello movies, but I don't think I've seen that one. Abbott and Costello Go to Mars. I assume, since it's Abbott and Costello, that they meet Martians while they're on Mars. But that does not ring a bell. Yeah, I don't remember that one at all, Lynn, but thank you for the $6.99, and I will have to check that out. Didn't we just suffer through the return of Captain Picard now as an old man? You see, and that's exactly my point. Richie, the Picard Series 1 is a splendid example of why we don't need Kirk back. Now, granted, I will say this. William Shatner is in a lot better shape than Patrick Stewart is, and which is sad considering Patrick Stewart. I mean, it is hard to believe that Patrick Stewart is 10 years younger than William Shatner, because you would swear Patrick Stewart is 10 years older than him. But, because you see them, and I mean, like when I met William Shatner, which was, just a few years ago, and he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm William Shatner, right? And you see Patrick Stewart, and he's like, and it's like, what is going on? How is Patrick Stewart 80 and William Shatner 90? How does that make any sense? But, but when we see Picard, not only does Patrick Stewart, is he just too old to be in front of the camera anymore. He needs to be retired. But the writing is so bad. It's painful, and it really, really hurts. If you have not seen the Red Letter Media's Mr. Plinkett's review of Picard, I highly recommend it. I generally don't recommend the Plinkett reviews because they're so crass and crude. And yes, there's a lot of foul language and dirty jokes and stuff like that and littered throughout it. And it's definitely not safe for work. But they make some incredibly good points in it. I'm thinking about doing a Picard review just to kind of make some of the same points that they make in the Plinkett reviews. It's so badly written. It's so badly put together, and you don't really think about it until you actually look at the entirety of the plot and how it really makes zero sense when you start to just look at any of the individual character arcs throughout the entirety of the run, and you realize that it makes no sense. And that's part of the reason Trek needs to be episodic again. And this is something I said on Lore's stream earlier today. I don't think Lore noticed it, but one thing that I truly believe, I think what Trek needs, and I hope that Strange New Worlds is it, but if it's not, what I really think will give Trek a shot in the arm, what I think will get Trek going again, is to do an episodic Trek series, not serialized at all, purely episodic, that is just a regular starship, a regular crew, regular missions within the boundaries of the regular Federation, just everything, the standard regular formula. Not, oh, we're trapped on the other side of the galaxy. Not, no, we're not going to another galaxy. Not, oh, we're traveling through time. Just the standard classic original series or TNG formula. And if it's on the Enterprise, great. And then that's, of course, Strange New Worlds. If it's on another starship, great, whatever. But just standard, and like Orville also, and just standard formula. Crew, starship, episodic, regular missions, go. Pull that off for at least a season. Then we'll talk about, okay, let's do some new threat or let's do some new adventure. But can we just try to pull off a season of just ordinary missions? Because right now we can't even do that. Whew, that was a rant and a half. Mercer says, hope you start feeling better. I know we disagree on stuff, but we agree on a lot more. Meg, Mercer, hey, you know what? You know me, if we argue about something, that just means we're friends. I'm a cantankerous old fool. I don't mind arguing. And my main thing about arguing is I don't mind arguing even passionately about stuff as long as we're still friends at the end of the day. Where I get upset about arguing is when people start taking it personal. And I will argue a point hardcore. And this is where, I'll be honest with you, there have been people, some very recently, where, and I have to, and I cannot stress this enough, please, people, if you're ever talking to me, whether it's in a situation like this where it's just chat, or wherever in a live stream panel, or we're on a Discord server, or whatever it is, and we're going back and forth on any topic whatsoever. I don't care if it's Star Trek, politics, what hair color you like, what kind of chick you think is attractive. I don't care what the topic is. If we're arguing about a topic, and I will argue passionately about it, and sometimes people say, oh my gosh, you argue like you have to be right. Well, yeah, of course I do. Why? Because if I thought I was wrong, I wouldn't argue. And to me, and I know, look, I know I'm not, for lack of a better term, I don't know what the correct phraseology is these days, but for lack of a better term, I know I'm not entirely neurotypical, right? And so I get that. I know that I don't think exactly the same way that everybody does. But yeah, if I'm going to argue a position, of course I think I'm right. And if you disagree with me, of course I believe you think you're right, and I expect you to bring everything you've got to it. That doesn't mean I think you're a bad person. That doesn't mean I think that you're less of a person. It just means I disagree with you on whatever the topic we're talking about is. Period. And so for the love of whatever, stop thinking that's a personal attack. Unless, of course, we're talking about whether or not you're a good person, which is never what we're talking about. And that's why I get so tired of, and you guys have heard me do this, and I've said this, and this is why I'm proud of the fact that I've said this to the face of people like Doomcock, is I will not tolerate people saying Jar Jar Abrams instead of J.J. Abrams. Because that is disrespectful. You can hate on The Force Awakens all day long. You can hate on, The Last Jedi and Star Trek Discovery and all this stuff all day long, and I am with you 100%. But the minute you turn it into hate against Kathleen Kennedy and Alex Kurtzman, you've crossed the line. And I don't understand why people have a tough time with that. I don't understand why people can't understand that there is a big difference between arguing passionately about a thing and a personal attack. And people think that if I'm arguing passionately about a thing, it is a personal attack, and it pisses me off. It's driving me crazy because I've had people this week get all over me saying that I'm attacking them personally when I wasn't even talking about them. And I'm sorry, I'm done with that crap. If I'm not talking about you, but we're talking about a subject, and you think I'm attacking you personally, then you need to stop being a freaking baby. Grow a pair. Unless you're a girl. Then, I don't know, grow an ovary. Preston says, I'm cool with the old guys having cameos, but not their own series. Agreed 100%. Daniel says, Martok and Riggs one more time. No. Sorry, just no. They're too old for that stuff. What I find amusing is the reaction William Shatner got in 1979 when he returned as Kirk and started the motion picture. Critics were saying he was too old. Yeah, I did think that was funny. But the funny thing about 1979 Trek was they were trying to hide the fact that they were old, and what made Star Trek II so brilliant was that they highlighted that they were old. And that was the difference. Could you watch 1940s Batman with Matthew? I sent you the movie. I can't unless it's a legit copy, Daniel. And just because it's on YouTube doesn't make it legit. That's something that people need to understand. Mercer says, Trek needs to be what Orville is. Not exactly, but in part, I agree. Preston says, what Trek needs is to get rid of Kurtzman and his ilk. I agree to a point. I think that Kurtzman doesn't understand Trek to a large degree. He thinks he does, but I don't think he does. But episodic is so boring. Disagree with you entirely. Episodic is entirely what Trek was up until Star Trek Discovery, and some of the best Trek ever produced was entirely episodic. And so you might think that's boring, but the problem is that serialized storytelling can work, but you have to have one heck of a story. And unless you have a really compelling story to tell, don't do it serialized. The problem is that you're making the choice to make it serialized before you have a story. If you have the story, then you make the choice to make it serialized. You don't make the choice, oh, we're going to make it serialized, now come up with a story. Richie, I agree, Lower Decks is the closest they've come to some good Trek. Josh says, couldn't they do stories of another ship that runs alongside TNG or DS9, but knowing CBS, it would change everything? They could, but will they? Or even, alongside TOS. There were 12 starships in the original series. In fact, look at some of the great stuff. Look, I am not a fan of many of the fan films out there, but a lot of them come up with some really interesting concepts. Like, I watched a fan film the other day. It was horrible. I'm sorry. Props to the people that made it. They really tried, but it was horrible. It was called Ghost Ship, and they really tried, but the acting was so bad. It was so badly written. It was painful to watch. But the idea was really interesting. It was about a small team of people whose job was to recover the USS Excalibur after the M5 computer destroyed it in the Ultimate Computer incident. That's an interesting story. That's something you could do in a alternate series that takes place alongside the original series if you wanted to do that. But no, they don't do that. Josh Street says, that goes alongside what Josh Street was saying. You could do a series that takes place alongside the events of what happens in the existing canon. England says, episodic, kind of like Orville. Yes. Indy says, the next Star Trek movie should be the Enterprise sent to look for a lost starship running into mystery like so many old Trek episodes. Or they should just reboot all of Trek. But what you are complaining about is what annoyed me about them, including... But what you are complaining about is what annoyed me about them, including Nimoy in 2009. I'm not sure what you mean. You mean like the cameos? The word you are looking for is woke, anti-checker.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Don't be proud, anti-checker. Pride is a sin. I'm not sure what you mean. The Fed is in the house, sips of coffee. Morning, anti-checker. You're sprightly today. It's always good to start with a rant. Oh, man. And Cinnabon hates some woman. How dare you mention Kathleen Kennedy in my presence? Oh, sorry. And now calling me a Disney show. I feel personally attacked, says John DeMarco. Don't even start. Don't even start. But can we still insult Herman Schmeckelbeck? I am so glad you asked. I have not heard that name in so long. Yes, Herman Schmeckelbeck is the sole exception to that rule. You are absolutely allowed to insult Herman Schmeckelbeck. The Schmeck is still fully evil, yes. Did you see my comment on one of your live streams about Loon Lake? I did not. Maximilian says, one of the ships I rather wanted to see more of was the Lexington, commanded by Wesley. I wanted to see that ship's adventures for a change. Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see a lot of, like, what happened to the other 12 ships. Some of them, anyway, Preston says, I thought Axanar was the only decent fan Trek out there. And that's kind of what started the whole problem with CBS, because they were going a little beyond what a fan film was. And I get that, I do, because they were raising an exorbitant amount of money, and they were getting real production going, and CBS was like, whoa, this is looking more like a professional production, not just a fan film, and that makes sense. I kind of got to fall on the side of CBS. It was blurring the line between a CBS production of Trek and just a fan film. So what do we do with that? Well, I think that, first of all, what CBS should have done was simply gotten the Axanar people on board with CBS and produced an Axanar series. But they didn't do that because CBS is idiots. But in the meantime, I think that what fans should have done, what the Axanar people should have done, is simply retooled Axanar to not be Trek, to be an original IP, and, just called it Axanar. And, because guess what? Axanar is not a word that's copyrighted by CBS. So they could have called it just the Axanar incident and made up an entire lore around Axanar. And guess what? You could have made the whole thing the same, except not, change the names of the Federation and all that. And bam, you got your own original IP. But they didn't do that. I thought seeing the old Excelsior in the 25th century as the oldest serving ship in Starfleet, and the crew had to do odd things to stay relevant. Okay. Would you do a Charlie Brown parody? I'm not sure why. I think Captain Kirk would eat Burger King instead of McDonald's. You're probably right about that. He would get a triple Whopper with cheese. I think they overplayed the being old thing in TOS movies. Shatner was only 50s back then. That is not old. Well, that was kind of the point, though, Richie, was that he hit 50 for Star Trek 2. And that is a major milestone. Probably, and I don't think they overplayed it. I think that's, because that was a major turning point in his life. Let's see. Daniel says Danny Glover was in 2012 and the Jumanji 3, so you can... No! We're done with Danny Glover. He's done. We're done. Preston says, good point about Axanar. The Fed says, I'm personally of a mind that people should take a leaf from Orville. Our classic forms of sci-fi have been institutions and have been far too corrupted. A new generation is needed. Agreed, Fed. I would love, let me tell you, and Mercer, thank you so much, puts another $2 in, says Trek was number one for me. Now it's Orville and Far Side. I do love me the Orville. I think it's great. And Far Side, well, unfortunately Gary Larson is retired, but I do love the Far Side. So let me say this to address what Fed was saying. I would love, if I was not dealing with, let me kind of tell you, as far as like, one of those, if I won the lottery things, like, if I won the $150 million Powerball, one thing I would love to do is just start writing for an original IP. Is like, say, screw it, you know what? I love Star Trek, I do, but I'm gonna turn around and take what I love about Trek and turn it into something new. Take some of the optimism of exploratory ideas and stuff and turn it into something new and different. Kind of like the Orville, but not quite the Orville, because I think there's some problems with the way the Orville does it, and more TOS, because I think Orville's a little too TNG for my taste. And more, because Orville feels, and don't get me wrong, but Orville feels too established to me. I want something where Earth is growing and getting out there, kind of like more like Enterprise, even than TOS. Like it's first growing, it's birth of the Federation kind of thing. We're trying to get out there, trying to establish ourselves, and we're running in and discovering these people. Wars are ensuing, bad things are happening, but good things are happening too, and humanity is growing and learning and stuff, and that's what I would want to do. And you know what? It doesn't have to have the name Star Trek on it, but it can be a whole lot like Star Trek. You can even have pointed-eared aliens in it that don't have emotions. And Daniel says, I am not a defender of Discovery anymore. I'm shocked, Daniel, but I'm glad to hear it. Star Trek version of The Odd Couple starring Neelix and Tuvok. That would be hilarious. Fed says, do consider Trek's message one of positivity and a brighter, better future, best case, where humanity is better in the mess. We are now. I adore Trek, but I enjoy it for its optimism. Well, exactly. I do think the optimism needs to be there. And that's something that is sadly missing from, like, that's my big problem with The Expanse. As much as I love The Expanse, I think it's a very well done show. That's its big flaw, is there's no optimism in The Expanse. Same problem with Battlestar Galactica, is these shows are kind of nihilistic and just kind of depressing. And that's the problem with New Trek as well. If you look at Picard and Star Trek Discovery, they're nihilistic and depressing and bleak. They don't, that's why they don't feel like Star Trek. It's not that, oh, the visual cues are different. It's not even that Burnham is a Mary Sue. It's the fact that the shows feel nihilistic and depressing more than any other factor. And so, and I don't think the writers understand that. I genuinely don't think they get that. I think that they think they're making great Star Trek. Has there been any news on Orville Season 3 air date and how many episodes it will be in the new season? Trust, and the only thing I've heard is that we're looking at the beginning of 2022. As far as how many episodes, I have not heard. But I have also heard, basically, hold on to your butts when it does come out, that it's going to be pretty dang serious. Kirk loves Italian, and so does Spock. No, yes, no, yes, no. I love Italian. And so do you. Yes. Expanse is great sci-fi, but definitely depressed. Yeah, it is a depressing show, but it's really well done. It's just, yeah, it's that nihilism that just tears you apart. And Lore Reloaded throws $5 in there. Thank you, Lore. Because can't wait for Discovery Season 4, Picard Season 2. Trek is back, baby. I think Lore's been getting some early access to some of the cheese balls, and he's just trying to work out the heat. Yeah, Laura, you're gonna love these cheese balls, and if you can actually down some of this chocolate, whew, man, you're gonna love it. It's called Satan's Pleasure, by the way. That's the name of the chocolate bar. You're gonna love it, buddy. Star Trek Picard Season 2 will be more exciting. Q time travel and new 25th century was not what it's what is not. I assume you mean to like. First of all, they didn't say anything about time travel. They just show the Q's in it. But we'll see. I think John DeLance looks good, but I will see. Honestly, I still think it looks like Picard is wheezing to get each breath out, but I think John DeLance looks great. Fed says, also explain to me what's the proverbial hard-on in science fiction for having worse features. It seems like a proper show for them. It must be bleak. I don't get it. I don't get it either. I can't stand it. I'm tired of nihilism. I'm really tired of it. It's just, there's no point in it. Optimism is just considered passé nowadays. And I know that this is something that Laura and I are going to probably discuss at length on our when we get our Tuesday show going, because I think Laura believes that that's how we need to do it, but I don't think that's the case. I think that a streak of optimism is the only way to get success going. I don't mind. I think that a little bit of darkness in a show can keep it going, but this overt nihilistic writing is running things into the ground. Cade says, I still think CBS should have done a partnership with Netflix in an alternate universe without cuties. I don't know what CBS's current status is as far as worldwide distribution. Fed says, might be that I'm not an American or something. I don't get the zeal for it. I don't either. Antrick has too much hate in his heart. Yes, too much hate in your heart. Fed says, face palms, Picard style at Lore. I think Lore's being a little sarcastic there, just so you know. 11 episodes, each one 65 minutes, filming wrapped today. Well, there you go. That's Mercer's got the information. And I know Mercer is obsessed with Orville, so there you go. FedDoc says, also, did I miss the big stream? No, I'm going to start the big stream on Sunday. Sunday. So that's the plan. But the big stream will be interrupted a bit because here's the deal. I'm going to start it at Sunday at noon, and then Monday morning I'm going to have to take a couple-hour break because the doctor needs me to come in to do an MRI. And then after I do the MRI, I'll come back and resume it into Monday evening. And so sometime on Sunday, Laura's going to come on. I don't know what time, but Laura's going to come on. And then for a little while, Laura and I will probably talk Trek for a bit. And you guys can super chat copious amounts of money to watch Laura turn into a giant tomato as he tries to handle 2.2 million Scoville cheese balls and 13 million Scoville chocolate squares, which will be absolutely hilarious to see him attempt to do so. And then after Laura's done, then we'll get through Sunday night. Monday morning we do the MRI, and then Monday evening I'll have Life with Matthew on. We'll talk about some stuff. Now, Life with Matthew is not doing the hot foods because if you guys don't remember, when Matthew did the One Chip Challenge, he had a serious medical emergency because of it, so I'm not making him go through anything like that. But he'll just be kind of hanging out with me while we're doing that. I don't know if LDG is coming on or not because he's doing his 48-hour live stream thing because he wanted to, I guess, be a jerk. Preston says Picard Season 2 actually had something about time being broken. Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're time traveling, so we don't know. Laura says, what do you think about Mary Wiseman Tilly admitting she was queer and is married to a guy? I don't care. Honestly, that's my opinion. I don't care. I'm tired of people behind the scenes trying to talk about their sexuality on screen. I don't care. That's my opinion. I do not, it's just like when what's her name that directed that episode of Loki saying how excited she was that she made Loki queer. I don't care. And Laura says, I believe it's what audiences want, not how we do it, to be clear. I don't think audiences necessarily want that, but I don't think we have. The problem is CBS isn't releasing the numbers, so it's hard to know for sure. We believe in nothing, Lebowski, nothing, and tomorrow we come back and we cut off your I'm not sure what that last word is, Stanley. Daniel says, Albert Einstein says time travel is possible. That's great. I'm not Albert Einstein. Alex says, Dear Andy Trekker, what is your favorite Q-centric episode of TNG and why? Q Who, because it introduces the Borg. I'm still pretty hopeful for Prodigy, but admittedly I'm very worried I'll end up hating it. I am not hopeful for Prodigy because it looks like freaking Star Wars to me. Nicole singing Put a Little Love in Your Heart. Trek Reviewer says, but Andy Trekker needs to have more faith. Faith of the heart. I can't sing. The Fed says, not sure how I'm supposed to feel about being the greatest source of your suffering with that nitro. Though tormenting lore. Evil grins. Oh, yeah. Yeah, tormenting lore. That'll be fun. Fun fact, MRI is also rabies vaccine developed in Kuroga. Trusted says, Lower Decks has ways to go. It might have potential for alright Star Trek series. I actually really liked Lower Decks. I think that Lower Decks caught some people off guard because they were thinking that Mariner was just another Mary Sue character, like that she was just Burnham 2.0. And then she got her comeuppance midway through the first season, and a lot of people were caught off guard by that. Fed talking to Lore, you doing the same format as Andy Trekker Super Chats, take a cheese ball. Yeah, we'll talk about that during the stream because I'm during the stream we'll deal with that. What happened to Deej? Deej posted a video on it, Mercer, so you can check that out. I don't know exactly what Deej put in his video, so I'm not going to speak for him. Time travel confirmed for Picard Season 2. Okay, well, if you say so. I can't speak for Picard Season 2. I think he said if you donate $100, he'll rub some balls in his eyes. I could say for sure that with Lore Reloaded, if you gave him $100, he would probably rub some balls in his eyes, but probably not the kind of balls you're thinking of. Malphus says, it sounds like Picard Season 2 is rehashing the plot from All Good Things. I don't know, but we'll see what they do. Dear Hitchhiker, how would you develop a Voyager follow-up? By not developing a Voyager follow-up. I don't think that there's a need for a Voyager follow-up. The only thing I would do with a Voyager follow-up would be, back when Voyager actually ended, I would do a follow-up where the Maquis members of the crew were put on trial. Harry puts a couple bucks in. 30th to like youngster. Blessings, many. Also, thank you, Harry, and good to see you as always. Brian says, hey, Hitchhiker, would Kuroga be in the Mirror Universe? Yes. Kuroga is definitely... Well, actually, in the Mirror Universe, Kuroga is actually a very nice place. Preston says, I admit I was caught off guard by Lower Decks, but I did enjoy it. Yeah, I actually found Lower Decks quite enjoyable. I'm curious to see... I don't know what Laura thought of Lower Decks, but I actually enjoyed the show. I thought that it was fun. And that's what Trek was really missing with Star Trek Discovery and Picard. What Trek was genuinely missing was fun. And that's where I think Mr. Plinkett's review of Picard really nailed it, was that Picard wasn't fun. It was people ripping their own faces off and shooting themselves in the face with a phaser and all this crap and just depressing. That's not Trek. McMahon is Trek. Answer to Dave Filoni. They're both a bit playful trolls with certain characters. Filoni, Ahsoka, McMahon, Mariner. Yeah, and it's Boimler that I think really saved Trek, because Boimler is the consummate Trek character. Mariner is, she's just kind of a jerk. And the funny thing is, when you look at Boimler and Mariner is what we would really be in the Trek universe. Boimler is what we would really think we would be. But Mariner is what we would actually be. And that's what I kind of like. I'm not getting vaccinated. I hear the vaccine is the mark of the beast. Daniel. The vaccine is not the mark of the beast. I promise you that. But you do what you do. Yeah. Yeah. Not gonna even we're not gonna even go there. And Laura said he'd do it for less than 100. There you go. After all this, why couldn't they just do a Star Trek The Next Generation set 30 to 75 years after TNG? That is a rhetorical question. Honestly, you know what I would like to see? And I think this would be a fun show, would be a Titan show where we follow Captain Riker on the Titan with Boimler, which you take the end of Lower Decks, that last shot of Riker on the bridge of the Titan, and then you make a live action version, because guess what? Have you seen the guy that voices Boimler? It's the nerdy guy from The Boys. He is that nerdy in real life. You don't need to recast Boimler. You already got a nerdy guy that can do that. You don't need to recast Riker, obviously. I guess Troy can be there too. And then yeah, you've already got it all set up. Bam. I think a Titan series is absolutely what they should be doing. And you could tell that Jonathan Frakes had a blast doing that. Like that line when he comes onto the bridge, he goes, "Oh man, I was just on the holodeck doing, on the NX-01. Boy, it was a long road for them getting from there to here." And it's like that whole, you could tell he was just loving it. And that's what we need. We need fun in Trek. So, I mean, if we had a live action Titan series, holy crap, could that be good? Preston says, will you be doing any more Journey Through Trek? If I can get to a point where I can focus enough to do the editing, yes. That's been my biggest problem. Right now, my hands just don't work the way they used to. I need and I'm not trying to fish for money or anything. I'm just being honest here. So when my computer died, and I'm fortunately, since with the extended warranty, the replacement computer's on its way. Unfortunately, I need about $300 to replace the editing software that I lost, and that will also include a if I can get it quickly, if they're still offering it. DaVinci Resolve has a little editing pad that comes with their registration now. That could help me get to where I can edit videos again at a decent rate, and so I could probably start doing the Journey Through Trek if I get that. But that costs $300, so which I don't have right now. So if I raise enough with the Hot Foods Challenge and stuff over the weekend and stuff, maybe. But the first thing is I got to raise enough for the mortgage because that's more important. So we're gonna see how we do there, and that's that because obviously paying the mortgage is way more important. And yeah, but that's been the problem, is that I've been losing motor control of my hands. So doing a lot of edit. Notice that like my videos that I've been posting have just been me talking to the camera, not a lot of editing and cuts and stuff. And a lot of that is just because I can't use my keyboard as agilely as I've had before. And so I'm hoping that and also with the MRI, hopefully I can get a clear diagnosis of what's going on. I can get on some medication that can make an actual difference, get me some motor control back. If that helps, maybe. I don't know. It's scary, but it's one of those things that I'm dealing with life. So keep me in your prayers, those of you that believe, but that's where I'm at. I tried to watch Lower Decks. All I can say is the horror. Well, Daniel, it's not for everyone. Laura thinks Mariner had a good arc. I think so too. And let's see. Fed says, also bring up your point about TNG era being too advanced. I agree with you, but do figure. Let's see. Also, to bring up your point about TNG era being too advanced, I agree with you, but I figure that if you do it intelligently, you can do a lot story-wise with the degree of tech. Yeah, the problem, like that's where Star Wars and Star Trek are like the opposite. With Star Wars, you go through like 100 years of tech, and it's all exactly the same. Nothing has ever changed. In Star Trek, you go through 80 years, and we went from Scotty using wrenches to try and fix something to computer, run a level 5 diagnostic. Okay, Captain, everything's fixed. All right, I'm done. You know, and it's like, it's boring. And John DeMarco says that Lower Decks is fun. That's the other new Trek is not. Agreed. Fed, for example, questions of technology and how it meshes with humanity. Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, those kind of questions can be interesting if done well. That's the real question. Brian McFarland says, hey, Aunt Trekker DaVinci doesn't keep licensed info on the website. No, they do not, which I learned too late, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I learned that just a little too late because I did keep it on the hard drive, which is toast. And so, yeah. Multi-Gunman says, how's it going? I'm hanging in there, my friend. Dear Andy Trekker, what is your favorite Brunt moment from DS9? I would say when Brunt showed up to buy all the parts of Quark and then put the writ on the bar that no Ferengi could do business there. And Cedric throws a couple of bucks in. Thank you so much, Cedric. Says, where would they go? Let's see. Where would they go Delta, Dun, Gamma, Ben, Dare? What? Where would they go Delta, Dun, Gamma? Oh, you're saying where would they go? Like if you did another Star Trek series? Delta, Dun, Gamma, been there. Well, first of all, it's a very big galaxy. All right? You act like, oh yeah, galaxy's explored. No, it's not. I mean, really, with all the Trek we've seen, maybe 10% of the galaxy has been explored. Maybe. You know what? Borg are still a massive threat. We could do Star Trek Borg War. That could be a series right now. Like, the Borg are sick and tired of the Federation. So we could do a prequel, Star Trek Romulan War. We could do a series that takes place in between Star Trek 6 and Star Trek The Next Generation about the expansion of the Federation in that time frame. We could do about there's about a million different things you could do with Trek. So there's plenty of room. Press says, well, I don't pray I'll be thinking good thoughts about you and your recovery. Thank you, Press, and I appreciate that. And look, I understand. Look, not everybody's a believer. I don't expect everybody to be. So don't worry. I don't take roll call as to people's theological stances. Indy says, that's the power of math, people. Yes, indeed. Daniel's Hot Topic says, I don't think TNG is advanced enough. When I saw it in the 90s, I was not impressed with the fact that one of the people pushing it to be more advanced. I disagree, Daniels. I think that TNG technology is just magic, and it's silly. Hey, guys, you know what we could do? Tell the main deflector dish to just emit particles that'll magically fix everything. Especially Voyager. Oh, man, Voyager's horrible. Yes, good choice on the Brunt moment where you kind of appreciate the horror of the Ferengi. Yeah. Cade says Charlie Brown should stop seeing Lucy for therapy. I agree. That's Lucy is probably a pretty poor therapist. Dear Anti-Trekker, how about a Klingon-centric TV series? I think that is, it's funny because people always say that, but I think that's a very bad idea, and I'll tell you why. And it's funny because this is something I know that when Lore was interviewing a producer of some fan fiction recently, he was talking about doing this too. It's like this very alien-centric series. I think it's a very bad idea. You need a human-centric series. First of all, when you start making a Trek series about weird aliens, number one, that makes it Star Wars, not Star Trek. Number two, when you take the human element out, guess what? Now it's not Star Trek. You know what Star Trek is about? The human adventure. Star Trek is about the human condition. Star Trek is about human optimism. It's about humanity overcoming and becoming a great thing in the future, a positive influence. And if you're doing a show about Klingons, you know what that shows you about humanity's brilliant future? Nothing. It shows you people going, it doesn't show you humanity's great future. And don't get me wrong, I think Klingons are cool. I think Klingon ships are cool. I think the Klingons are awesome. But I think a Klingon-centric show. The only way I could see doing a show that involved a lot of Klingons would be if you did a show about, remember when, I can never remember the name of the episode, forgive me, but when Riker was the exchange student on the Pah, or whatever the name of the Klingon ship was. And so if you did a show where it was just about that kind of a situation, where you followed a human that was assigned to a Klingon ship, but the entire show is about that human. But the problem is that then you're going to end up with Michael Burnham syndrome, because that human is going to end up saving the day all the time, and you don't want that. You don't want to get into Mary Sue territory. And because every episode is going to be like, I guess you humans aren't so dumb after all. I guess you humans aren't so, aren't so weak after all. So you don't want that every episode. So you have to, it's very tough to pull something like that off. Daniel says, they tried to do Star Trek Borg War and Roddenberry would not allow it. And he used Rick Burnham and his puppet to prevent it. Well, I don't know anything about that, but I do know that Roddenberry hated any time the Federation was portrayed as a military. Dear Entreger, how would you bring back Quark? Well, I think that they really missed a huge opportunity. I don't know why they did not bring Armin Sherman back for Picard when they were in that bar. Since it was, at least from what you could see from the outside, that bar was a Quark's bar. They after 7 of 9 shot the place up, they absolutely should have had Armin stick his head up from behind the bar. Why they didn't do something like that, I have no idea. Cinnabon says English is the future, indeed. How would a Cardassian and the Obsidian Order show? How about a Cardassian Obsidian Order show with Starfleet involved? Same problem, Daniel. You gotta have a human-centric show. Otherwise, it's just not going to be interesting. You're not going to have a general audience. You're thinking of a matter of honor. Thank you. Fed says, I'll say it. Klingons are fascinating as a set piece, but functionally speaking, they don't make sense as a society, nor do I understand how an alliance with the Federation works. Oh, the Klingons should absolutely not be allies with the Federation. They should be enemies. They absolutely should. Because their very society is the polar opposite as far as beliefs with the Federation. They should be the enemies of the Federation. There's no reason that they're allies except plot. It's 2021 and Star Trek has more triple appearances than Gorn. That makes me sad. Well, maybe we need to bring some Gorn in. How about a space pirate spin-off? That doesn't sound very exciting. And Nicole says, damn it, there's a smart person in the chat. Not sure why. One problem I have with Star Trek as a whole is the lack of specialty in the medical division aboard starships. That is kind of annoying. I can understand, you should have a general ship surgeon. Like McCoy, I didn't have a problem with. McCoy, and same thing, like you have a general ship surgeon who is your chief medical officer. And that would be like McCoy, Crusher, Pulaski, etc. But you should have underneath them various specialists. Now, on the original series, they sometimes hinted at that. Like, what was his name? Black guy that was the expert on Vulcans from the original series. But I can't remember his name now. But they did occasionally... Mapinga, I think it was. Yeah, I think you're right, John. Man, your memory is stupid. How do you do it? So we found out the next step above quantum plot. Yes, indeed. So like Dr. Mapinga, you would have specialists like that, and that would deal with certain circumstances. Although it does seem kind of weird to have a Vulcan specialist when there's like one Vulcan on the ship. It's like, well, better get a Vulcan specialist. We got one guy on the ship that might get sick. And, then why doesn't Mapinga show up every time Spock gets sick? Why is it that he only shows up every now and then? Al says, Dear Trigger, what's your opinion of Ferengi diminished presence in modern Trek fiction? Well, most people, as far as the creatives behind Trek, don't like the Ferengi because the Ferengi are capitalists. That's my opinion of it. If you look at if you're talking about, like, look, the funny thing about it is, like, look at the last season of Discovery. How does it make any sense that you had this huge capitalist exchange that was galactic wide thing that was run by the Andorians and stuff, and no Ferengi? And the difference between Lower Decks and what we saw in Star Trek Discovery Season 3 is Mike McShane loves Star Trek. That's the difference. I'm sorry. And I know that sounds horrible, but I think that's the difference. Not Mike McShane, Mike McMahon. Mike McMahon loves Star Trek. That's the honest difference. I mean, because, hey, Captain Foley. And it's kind of funny because I was about to say, when Mike was on Trek Yards, which he was, I don't remember, it was a while ago, but when Mike was on Trek Yards just talking about I think he was talking about the California class, you could tell he was one of us. He's a nerd through and through. He is an absolute dork. And so he is, he just loves Trek. And so that's why when you look at the stories and you look at the characters and you look at the stuff that he does, it's exactly what we would do. You don't see that as much on Discovery because that's not the kind of people that are behind Discovery. And Cedric throws in $5. Thank you so much, my friend. Says, no. The writers, their writers are too lazy after TOS. Every Star Trek show, except for TNG, did a mirror show. Well, all right. So we'll talk about that. So Malfi says spy show starring Bashir and Garrick. I think it'd be fun. Also, Section 31 could be the main villains. I could see that. Although, yeah, like you could do Trek spies like us, like Bashir and Garrick. If you could get them, I could see that. You should bring Midnight's Edge and Lower Reload at the same time. I don't know if Midnight's Edge would want to talk to me anymore. And Trekker says, total nerd like us. Absolutely. I loved watching him on your show, man. It was awesome. So, as far as, here's the problem. I agree with you to a certain extent. Like, I think that the fact that first of all, TNG did not do a mirror universe episode, but they did do the mirror universe in Deep Space Nine several times. They did the mirror universe, of course, in Enterprise, but they didn't do the mirror universe in Voyager. So the writers didn't do it in every Star Trek show. They just did it in Deep Space Nine and Enterprise. And they did the Mirror Universe arc in Discovery. They didn't do it in Picard, and they didn't do it in Lower Decks. So 3 shows they did do it, and 3 shows they didn't do it. So 50-50. But I will say this. The shows they did do it in, well, did they really do it? Because, okay, so I don't know. I like for the Deep Space Nine in particular, it didn't feel like the Deep Space Nine Mirror Universe stuff was really the Mirror Universe. It felt like it was an alternate timeline. Because they completely, the Empire was just gone because Spock was successful. And I didn't buy that. I'm sorry, because they didn't. I think the writers there misunderstood what the Mirror Universe was. The Mirror Universe was just that. It was a mirror universe, which means that as long as the Federation existed, the Empire should exist. And so Spock's efforts should have failed. So unless you want to argue that what they were actually in was an alternate timeline of the Mirror Universe, that's the only way it works, which means that the Mirror Universe is actually still out there somewhere. So, yeah. Fed says, I'm not about to cede Star Trek vision to those who enjoy the particular version of politics, refuse to believe the feds are red. And not sure what you mean there. Multi-Gunman says the series that did do it the best was... let's see. The series that did do it in... Wait. The series that did do it in are the best series. The series that did do it in are the best series. Coincidence? I think not. The series that did do... So you're saying that the series that did the Mirror Universe are the best series. Well, let's see. So you think that Enterprise and Deep Space Nine and Discovery are the best series? Dear N-Trigger, what's your favorite Worf-centric episode of Deep Space Nine? I can't think of a good one off the top of my head. Well, no, the one where, I can't remember the name of the episode, but the one where they're on the Jem'Hadar prison asteroid and he's fighting Jem'Hadar after Jem'Hadar after Jem'Hadar, and then the leader finally yields to him even though he had him beat. I can't remember the name of that episode, but the one where they basically escape from the prison. The closest Mirror Universe Voyager was when the Doctor episode where he tries to prove Voyager didn't kill that guy kickstarted the war. Yeah, but that wasn't really Mirror Universe. That was just a misunderstanding. There are something we can't compare to modern day in terms of how they are something that we can't compare to the modern day in terms of how their system works. I'm not sure. I'm sure it meant something 15 minutes ago when you typed that. A TNG Mirror Universe episode would have been interesting. Yeah, but unfortunately you never got it. Except for Discovery, you blew my theory out of the water. Yep. See, Discovery did a whole arc in the Mirror Universe. And what was that? And let's see. Honestly, Mirror Universe makes no sense to me. 40K does, and that sort of darkness only exists out of everything trying to kill humanity. Mirror Universe is just a bunch of psychopaths. Well, the Mirror Universe, the funny thing about it is Mirror Universe only works if you understand that it is a mirror universe. It doesn't work if you try to think of it as an alternate timeline, which is the problem with the Deep Space Nine episodes. Is the writers of the Deep Space Nine episodes try to write it like it's an alternate timeline. It's not. And so if it's a mirror universe, it works. As an alternate timeline, it fails miserably. By Inferno's light, that was the great Worf moment when he wouldn't give up. Thank you, John. I figured you would know it. Multi-Gunman and Enterprise, also not the best, one of the best series, sorry. Ooh, shots fired. And Nicole says, you sunk my battleship. I like the last two seasons of Enterprise when Manny Cater I actually liked Enterprise. I think Enterprise gets more hate than it deserves. But Trek Yards, Captain Foley, he's Canadian. It's funny because people think Captain Foley's this really nice guy because he's Canadian. He's actually a jerk. He's like the worst. He's such a raving lunatic. By the way, Captain Foley, speaking of being a complete and utter jerk, I don't know, and I know this is short notice because it's been so crazy around here, and I have so many things pulling me in different directions at once. But since you're here right now, if you are available pretty much any time after noon on Sunday, or in the evening on Monday, or in the late afternoon to evening on Monday, I would love to have you on. I'm doing a marathon live stream to try and raise funds to pay my doctor bills. And Laura's going to be on at some point on Sunday. And Life with Matthew is going to be on Monday, but and I have to take a break in the morning on Monday to do an MRI. Yay, more doctor's bills. But and I meant to invite you, and then I got calls from the doctors and all this crap. So I apologize for inviting you publicly. I didn't mean to do that, but if you can, please join me sometime during that time. I want to talk to you about like the state of Star Trek and just stuff, if you're willing. So if you're able, if you're not, I certainly understand because I know this is last minute. Alex says, Dear Andrew, my favorite moment for the Enterprise is watching Mirror Zephyrin drop Vulcan butt with a shotgun. The first time I saw that totally caught me off guard. Although it's kind of an obvious cheat when you see it because, they show the footage from the movie and then the close-up of the hand going for the shotgun. But it is kind of funny. And yeah, I'll shoot you a reminder on Sunday morning. Daniel says Gene Roddenberry would have hated in Pale Moonlight. Well, Gene Roddenberry didn't like when he was pitched it before he died. He hated the concept of Deep Space Nine anyway, and so yeah, he didn't like the entire concept. And there was nothing about DS9 he would have liked, and especially the Dominion War. He would have absolutely freaked out. Anyway, so so I guess let's see, the MU, I'm not sure what the MU stands for, is the only part of the first season of Star Trek Discovery that I liked. Oh, Mirror Universe. I did not care for it in large part because it gave us Empress Georgiou, which I thought was annoying. I think that the only reason they did that was because they could get Michelle Yeoh back. I think that if they wanted to keep Michelle Yeoh, they should have just not killed Captain Georgiou. That was completely... But, I think that as a series, Discovery was poorly constructed. I think that killing Georgiou in the second episode was poorly constructed anyway. It was unnecessary and honestly just badly handled. Trek Reviewer says, I found a ship called the Elkins type starship, which shows up in time to stand of DS9. It's a kit bash consisting of an Intrepid class primary hull and TMP nacelles, and 2 TOS construction class secondary hulls. Ooh, that sounds like an ugly ship. The mirror universe of Kuroga is Turkestan. I would not be surprised if that sounds about right. And let's see, there's a Trek movie. Berman, a few, I'm very hating Star Trek. Okay, well, if you say so. Let's see. And Michelle Yeoh, look, I like Michelle Yeoh. I've been a fan of hers since, I figure you meant Constitution class Trek Reviewer. I've been a fan of Michelle Yeoh since Crouching Tiger, and I think that she is a wonderful actress, but I think that she was wasted as Captain Georgiou. And, that she was just, it was her character was pointless, and the way that her character was constructed was bad. I think that the way that honestly, because she has a heavy accent, it sounded horrible. Like if you go back and rewatch the Battle of the Binary Stars, when she's trying to give orders, because when there's a battle sequence in Star Trek, there's only a couple of kinds of battles. There's the strategery type battles, and I know I say that as a joke, but it's the kind that I like is like Star Trek II, where Kirk is thoughtfully thinking about what we're going to do, and then he says, okay, let's go over here and, okay, get this ready and get this ready. All right. And fire, that kind of thing. That's just strategic battle. And that's the kind of thing I generally like. And then there's the more modern kind of stuff that we see more and more nowadays, which is the rapid fire, let's get things going, bam, 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 bam. Where you have the captain is sitting there going, all right, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And that's what we see more of these days, because we want to show that the captain is in charge, and so the captain knows what they're doing, so they can bark 17 orders in 17 seconds. And that's what they tried to do with Captain Georgiou. The problem is that Michelle Yeoh has a very thick Chinese accent, and so she's trying to say these orders in English with this thick accent, and it just comes off as laughable if you listen to it. It was a horrible choice. It was an absolutely horrible choice. When you write the part, if you're going to write it for an actress like Michelle Yeoh, you need to write it so that Michelle Yeoh can say it. But they didn't do that. Ozzy says, a Terran Empire versus Federation would make a great show if done right. Yeah, but they'd never do it right. Signed Book Collector says MRIs are stupid and expensive. Yeah, the first one we did this year, this will be my third MRI in the last few months. But yeah, the first one our out of pocket was $750. These MRIs are a significant part of why we're doing the fundraiser this weekend. And Indy Tiger, thank you so much, my friend. I truly appreciate it. Says, Archer's character makes perfect sense. He's told his whole life that aliens with interstellar drive would be mature enough to use their words, not their swords. He forgot that they, like us, would be alpha predators of their planet. He's told their whole life that aliens with interstellar drive would be mature enough to use their words, not their swords. He forgot that they, like us, would be the alpha predators of their planet. That's actually interesting. I like that. But Archer, I liked Archer, and thank you again, Indy. You blow me away, man. I owe you a cheese ball if you remind me on Sunday. Archer, I think, and no disrespect intended to Captain Foley, but Archer, I think, had probably the best arc of any of the captains of Trek, because when he started out, he was straight up naive. Archer was absolutely straight up naive. He was sitting there thinking, oh, golly gee, the Klingons will be nice. They seem like, I'm sure when I bring them their warrior, they'll just say thank you, gosh darn it, and we'll just be best of friends, right? Now, granted, there was a little bit of a canonical issue or continuity issue because of the fact that Picard mentions decades of war that resulted from First Contact that didn't happen, but at the same and that actually that would have been more interesting had Archer had returned the body and then the Klingons immediately started shooting at the Enterprise. And what they could have done is, instead of having the Klingons, and this was a problem, the Klingons should have just not been technologically superior. You could have made the Klingons technologically inferior to Starfleet, but have them have a massive fleet. And they just started firing on them, and they're like, get us out of here! And they're like, trying to figure out, oh, great, we just started a war. And we didn't mean to. These guys aren't really that much of a threat, but they're really pissed off at us. And that would be kind of, it's like, well, these guys aren't that tough, but there's so dang many of them. What do we do? And so now we've started a war with these angry guys, and that would have been a much more interesting first season. But instead, we just got, get out of here. But thank you again, Indy Tiger. You have no idea what kind of a difference that makes. You guys know these medical expenses ain't no joke, and that's why we're basically trying to pay the mortgage, and yeah. So Fed obviously made a huge difference. That's going to definitely help at the end of this month. And then, if we can get to, basically what we're trying to do is if we can get to where we pay the mortgage, we currently still owe the hospital. Yeah. Then I got to get my renewal for Da Vinci, but that's lower on the priority list. Where was I? How would I have written a Garrick-centric episode of DS9? I don't know. That's a tough one, Alex. But I would definitely have Dr. Bashir heavily involved in it. Multi-Gun Man, you've had a terrible run of luck lately. I ain't gonna lie. It's not that it's been a terrible run of luck. It's just been trying to figure out what the problem is. I think the doctor, honestly, this is the problem with modern medicine, is that doctors nowadays are very scared to make a diagnosis, especially if it's one of those things that could be a life-altering kind of diagnosis. And I think the doctor, from the sound of it, thinks that it's MS, which is one of those things that they don't want to make that diagnosis unless they're 100% sure. And, and so they got to do test after test after test, because that's not something they want to tell someone unless they know. And so it's just been a long road getting from there to here. Captain Archer definitely had the best story arc. I tend to agree, actually. I don't think it's been the best series, but definitely the best arc. I don't see people in pain. I don't like to see people in pain. You can skip eating the cheese ball for me. All right, Indy. I appreciate it, though, man. I do. Who's your least favorite character from Enterprise and why? Oh, man. That's least favorite character from Enterprise. I would probably have to say Hoshi. Because she didn't feel like she had a sense of adventure to her. She was just, I'm just the best linguist ever, and I don't want to be here, but I'm here. And it's like, I agree the Trigger, the Klingons should have been destroyed. I don't necessarily think they should have destroyed the Enterprise, but I think that the Enterprise should have limped back home at best. Archer was low down, a scary dude, that type of captain's asking you to do something until he's no longer asking anymore. I'm not sure what you mean. Multi-Gun Man says the only way to make it work was say that the Cold War with the Klingons, but it's definitely technically wrong according to what Picard said, but would work storyline wise. Yeah, but they just didn't do anything. They just kind of left it, and yeah. Daniel says, if I was in Trek time like Picard show, I would always be on a holodeck on the NX-01 interacting with the crew. Jimmy Jam says, dude, it's James. How you been? Well, I'm not sure which James, but oh, you don't want to know, buddy. I'm going in tomorrow for my third MRI in the last couple of months. I've been doing test after test after test, trying to get things figured out as far as my health. Hopefully, I'll have some kind of answer. At this point, when I walk around, I look like I'm drunk, which is it's horrible. Honestly, people look at me if I'm walking around the store and they think I've been drinking. And, I have to, I walk with a cane normally, but like if I'm at the store, I hold onto the grocery cart to make sure that, I can stabilize myself. And, around the house, I'm just constantly have a hand on the wall or on the counter or whatever to make sure I don't fall down. And on the rare occasion that I do fall down, I can't get up. And so it's just, yeah. It's been rough. If you would like to see, you can give me a link to picture. I give you a link to a picture of it. So check. I'm not sure which. And let's see. No, Romulan War was first. Well, I don't know if they've said that the Romulan War was before the Klingon War or not, because the only thing they said about the Klingon War was Picard said the first contact with the Klingons led to decades of war. And so now the Romulan War, the only thing that we know is Spock said the Romulan War was a century ago. So there's nothing that necessarily means that and in fact that could be an interesting complication. What if and this could have made, I mean, imagine if we start out like in season 1, we start out and like in the first episode, the first half of the first episode, you have Archer like, we're going to explore the galaxy. This is going to be great. And then he accidentally starts a war with the Klingon Empire. And he's like, holy crap, this sucks. Now we're at war with the Klingon Empire. And then while they're trying to figure out a way to deal with the Klingons, he accidentally starts a war with the Romulan Empire. And now the Federation is at war with 2 factions. And they're going to lose. Or not the Federation, but Starfleet is at war with 2 factions. And they're going to lose. And so now Archer's mission, because remember, the Enterprise is the fastest ship they've got. So now their mission is no longer to explore the galaxy in order to like learn and just no. Now their mission is to desperately find allies. And that's when they find the Tellarites and the Andorians and stuff. But it's to find allies for the war with the Klingons and the Romulans. That, I think, could be that could be an interesting story. So let's see, keep going. Multigun Man says my least favorite character from Enterprise was Hoshi because she was so whiny. Yeah, she was very whiny. Forgive Anti-Trekker, he's suffering from rabies. Yeah, I feel like it. Jimmy says we used to work together. Sat James hit me up. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's been rough. I'll tell you. Here's how this whole thing started, James, is that... So, I back at the end of March, so, just so you know, so I don't talk about work on my live stream, so don't mention where we work or anything like that, because I do not talk about work at all, because I don't want to mix work and live streaming, because I don't want to have to start talking about the products we sell or any of that. But the so I back in March I had a perforated eardrum, so I took a little time off, and because it was really, really bad. They the doctor was considering doing some. They were taking a look, and the doctor was like, "Oh man, the reason for the perforated eardrum was because of pressure from my sinus cavity." And they were thinking they needed to do surgery in my sinus cavity. So they did an MRI to take a look at my sinus cavity. When they did the MRI in my sinus cavity, they confirmed a couple of things. One, yeah, I absolutely needed to do surgery in my sinus cavity. Number 2, that I had lesions in my freaking brain. And that's what began this whole downward spiral on all this. And so they did do the surgery in my sinus cavity, which helped relieve some of the pressure on the ears, which is good. But then, but the lesions in the brain, and it's good that they found it when they did, because now my motor skills have been going downhill. I can barely type and stuff now. I'm having difficulty concentrating. Like I already talked about, like the drunken walk problem and stuff. And so the timing of all this just happened to coincide. And so dealing with all that, and then I started having chest pain. So I'm at the doctor's, and just happened to be at the doctor because I'm having the shortness of breath problem, and I'm having chest pains. And they do a EKG on me, and they're like, "Well, that's come back normal. We should have you see a cardiologist." And so then my wife is like, "Well, if it gets any worse, you need to go to the ER." It got worse. I go to the ER, and then they say, well, let's check your heart again. Your heart's fine. So then they do some more tests. Well, guess what? It's your gallbladder. So then they have to take me in and do emergency gallbladder surgery. They had to take out my gallbladder, which that was a couple of weeks ago. So I just had my gallbladder out. It's been just hell. I've been off work since the end of March. and I'll tell you, it's been rough. Not gonna lie, it has been just one. So since March, I've had 2 MRIs, a CAT scan, 2 surgeries. Man, I'm losing track now. I can't even count the number of medications I'm taking right now, and I can't go. Yeah, it's just it's a mess. But it's good to see you, man. It really is. So just yeah. They should make a Klingon War arc with the Federation. However, if they're scared, if a fan hate, I don't think it's fan hate that they're scared of. I don't. If you want to see it, yeah, it helps if you put at Anti-Tricker, and I'm way behind in the comments. I'm gonna try to catch up before I wrap up. Picture of the Elkins type ship. Oh, Trek Viewer, if you can send it to. I don't know. I need to get my Discord address put in there somehow. I don't even know what it is. Preston says Archer is worse than Janeway. Archer started wars. Janeway got lost. Well, Archer never actually started a war, but he should have. That's what I'm saying. I think that it could have said that the Klingon War started because of Hoshi trying to speak Klingon. Yeah, you could say that. Daniel says, they should do what you said, but post-Picard series. But a post-Picard series, they commission new Enterprise crew by a new crew. On the way, the crew accidentally starts a war with the Klingon. That doesn't make sense, though. Klingons are all buddies post-Picard. Alex says, what would you have changed about Insurrection? I wouldn't have made it. It sucked. Stephen Ernest says, for what it's worth, my sympathies go out to you. I appreciate it. And that's not, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go on a whole tangent about my health. It's, yeah. Is Hoshi public enemy number one now? No, not at all. I just think Hoshi was, public enemy number one. As far as I'm concerned, the worst Star Trek character is still Michael Burnham. And it's nothing, it's just that Michael Burnham is such a poorly designed character because Burnham has no design. Burnham isn't even a character. Burnham is just a walking, talking plot device. And that's her biggest problem. She has no real character traits because a character, and ask anybody who knows about writing, a character is defined by his or her flaws. Burnham has none. And I know people say, well, but she started the war. That's not a character flaw. That's just an event. That's just something she supposedly did. And by the way, she didn't start the war. And in fact, even because one thing that people don't even think about, she tried to do what would have prevented the war and was stopped, which means that she was right. Burnham is always right. That's the way the show is written. Burnham is always right. And so that kind of drains any kind of character out of her. And so that makes it so that she's just not interesting. And, yeah. And just because you are a character doesn't mean you have character. The Wolf. Yeah, I tell you, that's true. And Jimmy says, just finished watching Discovery and Picard. I'm highly disappointed with the portrayal of Jean-Luc. They made him so weak. Do you think they can bring him back as a strong role? No. I think Picard was a big mistake. For one thing, and I said this before the show even came out, I think that Patrick Stewart is one of the finest actors to grace Trek, period. And he is too old to be in front of the camera. He should simply be retired. He should not be acting, period. And so I think that it's a mistake for him to be in the show at all. And I think that they need to just call it a day. Just be done. I think the writing is just a mess. What is Picard even about? Everything in Picard is self-contradictory. I mean, there is nothing about Picard that's not contradicted. And so it's a horrible show. It's just a horrible show. Sorry. So yeah, Jimmy, I don't think that there's any saving that show. I think that season 2, the only thing I'm looking forward to about season 2 is Q, and maybe Q can snap his fingers and just make it so it never happened. That's the best I could hope for. Andy says the series should have involved the Klingons and Romulans cooperating against a coalition of planets. The final scene will be the crew being replaced by the new NX-01 crew. Stewart should just stick to the American dad for a few more times, quietly retire. I agree. Preston says, I still find it hard to believe that Patrick Stewart signed off on this crap. I don't. Patrick Stewart is just another crazy Hollywood liberal, and that's what crazy Hollywood liberals do. But, that didn't surprise me. It's just that what surprises me is that someone didn't realize that every time, every time he opens his mouth, it sounds like he's gasping for his last breath. Please, someone realize he's too old for this. He really is. Hey, Trigger, there's one characteristic of the Borg that you would have changed to improve them. Yes, get rid of the Queen. Joseph said, is it the same thing with Harrison Ford doing Indy 5? Leave the older guys alone and let their past work stand on. So absolutely. There are only 3 Indiana Jones films. The fourth one is an absolute joke. Josh Street says, Melinda McCarthy and Shaquille O'Neal now be used in Alexa by using new words. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Shaq. But we're going to make Bird pay $5 for each one. Oh, that's horrible. You can do that? Really? Is that a thing? Alex says, Dear Trigger, how would you have done a 4th 90s Trek show? I don't know. I don't. Let's see. A 4th 90s Trek show. Well, there were 4, weren't there? There was TNG, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. So I assume you actually mean a 5th. Because TNG, I know it started in the 80s, but it ran into the 90s. So I assume you mean a 5th. So a follow-up to after Enterprise. Well, first of all, I would have given Enterprise its 7 seasons that it so richly deserved. Number 1. And I probably would have continued on with the Enterprise era. Because I think that's actually more interesting than doing something post Voyager, and I think that probably done something with the Romulan War, and actually done something that was like similar to Deep Space Nine, done a full on Romulan War epic, and also the Klingon War. I think that could have been a pair of shows that ran side by side, and in fact, I think that you could have done a Romulan, and I like the idea that the Federation was fighting a war on 2 fronts. I like the idea that the Klingon War and the Romulan War were happening at the same time, and the Federation was desperately looking for allies. TNG, DS9, and Voyager are the Trek shows of the 90s. The Enterprise was in 2001, not in the 90s. Well, yeah. So I would have continued the Enterprise era. I think there's a huge space of time there that's worth exploring. Because honestly, I think that Voyager, by the end of Voyager, the tech is too advanced. I don't like it. But at the end of Enterprise, I'm intrigued. I want more of that. So that's where I would go with it. I would spend more time there. All right, guys. So it's been streaming for a while. So I'm going to wrap it up because I need to try and get some rest and try and get things ready for the big mega stream on Sunday. So go hang out with LDG if you want. If you don't want to, then, well, I guess don't. But thank you. There's 44 people here right now. And so I truly appreciate it, man. Every one of you. Good to see you, Jimmy. I know I haven't talked to you in forever. So, and I'm sorry I didn't recognize your name, but a lot of you guys that I haven't talked to you in a while, just nice to hang out every now and then. Indy, again, thank you so much for the $50. I truly appreciate it because, yeah, it's been rough. And hopefully things will get back to someone like normal. I'm hoping, honestly, if the doctors can come up with some kind of diagnosis, the idea is that if we can get something that we can treat, then I can get back to normal life. You know, if I can get to where I can focus and I can actually like type again and stuff, then I can get back to work. That's what I want. But right now, I'm working at 60. You know, I'm getting 60% of my income from my job. That ain't gonna cut it. And so, yeah, keep me in my prayers. Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, any of you guys that believe, keep me in your prayers. And if you don't, well, then just good thoughts are appreciated. Jolan True, live long and prosper. And I'll be doing my church live stream Sunday morning and the mega stream Sunday afternoon. And until then, take care.